Okay, we are live again with Katie Behringer of Florida State University in London this week. Katie, thank you very, very much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
Do you want to just introduce yourself and tell everyone who you are and where you are, in fact?
Yes, I am reporting to you live right now from the Florida State University London campus. We are really lucky that we have several international campuses, which I'm sure I'll tell you a lot about over the next hour. But yeah, my name is Katie Behringer. I'm the assistant director here at FSU London. I'll tell you a little bit about myself too, and sort of how I got here.
Please do.
Yeah, I've been here in the UK for about 12 years, which you couldn't tell from my accent. We've really retained that. And I've been working with FSU for about 6.5 years, almost 7 years now. Primary role of what I do here is working with American students that are sort of coming from our campus in Florida over to study here for anywhere between a week, semester, a year, different program lengths like that. But another hat that I wear is working with trying to find any British or international students over on the side of the pond that might be interested in studying over at Florida State. And yeah, we've been here since 1971, so we've had a really long presence in London and the United Kingdom. And it's just been a really great role. I get to do what I love every day, working with American students to teach them about a culture that I love here. And then when the opportunity arises, I'm getting the chance to work with British students to send them over to the US so they can have the same experience of me being the one with the weird accent when they're living somewhere.
So tell us a bit more about that. So what you deal with is the students who come over from mostly America, but other places as well, to have their first year in London rather than their first year in Florida.
Yeah. So we actually take students from all years. So we're quite an encompassing campus. We have students from first year, second, third, and fourth year all studying here, doing different sort of broad curriculum courses that we offer. But sort of the big nuts and bolts of what we really like to promote as a part of our international programs is our first year abroad program. And that's where students have an opportunity to come straight from school or high school in the United States and do their entire first year of studying with Florida State at one of our international campuses. So of course you could just go straight to Florida State in Florida. That's definitely an option. But for some of our more adventurous students who want to do that just little extra thing on top, they might choose to do their first year in one of our 4 international locations, one of which is London, England. We have another campus in Valencia, Spain, one in Florence, Italy, and then one in Panama in the Republic of Panama in Central America.
Okay, wow. And are they all roughly the same sort of size, these different ones around the world?
No, I'd say London and Valencia are pretty close in size. We have a competition sort of every year of who will get the most first year students between the two of us. So I would say both of our campuses see probably around 800 students throughout any calendar year. The Florence campus is smaller than that. They would maybe be more in the 200 to 400 range of students per year. And then Panama is sort of its own thing because it's actually a degree granting university. You could go to Florida State University, Panama for 4 years and actually obtain a degree there. So they are their own fully operational satellite campus. So they have thousands of students that are there, but are mostly from Central America and South America.
Okay. But they could be from anywhere else if they
wanted.
Yeah,
they absolutely could be from anywhere else. We have a really healthy relationship with Central and South American countries. So we send our students there. They send their students up to Florida. So it's a really great cultural mix there.
Okay. And so in terms of British students, since you're in London, do you get British students doing their first year in London?
Yes. Actually, nearly all of them have done their first year in London.
Okay.
Which I thought was really interesting.
Yeah. And what's the reason for that? Why do they do that?
Well, I would say that nearly all the students we've recruited that are from the UK have actually grown up outside of London. We've had students come from all over England, maybe just a couple from London, but I think they really were torn between wanting that university experience in London and also wanting to follow their heart and go to the United States. So they came across our program, and it really ends up being a really unique opportunity for them to have the best of both worlds. They can do that uni year in London without mom and dad. Even if they're from London, they're living on their own, they're being quite independent. And after that, they still get the university experience in the United States. So it's almost like they didn't have to make a decision between the two.
Okay, yeah. And they're quite different experiences though, right? I mean, London is one thing, but tell us a little bit about what campus is like in Florida.
Right. So the campus in Florida is located in Tallahassee, which is that sort of panhandle bit across the top of Florida. The first question I'm usually asked is, how close is it to Disney World? And the answer is about 3 to 4 hours by car. Tallahassee is the capital city of Florida, believe it or not. So it's got the state government and a lot of other important businesses and societies that are run out of that city. So it is a really important city, despite the fact that most people haven't really heard of it over a Miami or an Orlando or a Tampa. Tallahassee is around the size of York here in England, so it's definitely a medium-sized city in the United States. It's not too big, and it's got a really vibrant downtown area with a lot of urban culture, a lot of markets and cool restaurants, and concerts will come through. But then very separate to the downtown area, you'll have Florida State University's campus, which is very much its own little bubble. So you can walk to downtown, you can take a bus if you'd like to, but if you want to just be in your little campus bubble while you attend Florida State, that's very, very possible. And then even better than that, it's still only about 30 minutes by car from the Gulf of Mexico, which is the nearest beach. So you can get the best of 3 worlds there. You've got the campus community, which is quite suburban, really collegiate. Then you've got the downtown urban vibe, and then you've got the ocean. So it's not really that bad.
Sounds all right. Yeah. I mean, it does sound very different to studying in London. That's the thing.
Very, very different, but we still love London for different reasons, despite
yeah, exactly. And obviously, there's a financial reason that students apply to do this program, right? So I know this is one of the reasons that it's particularly popular with British students. But do you want to talk a little bit about why it's financially viable doing it this way?
Absolutely. I think a first thing to explain would be for anyone who doesn't understand the difference between what in-state and out-of-state tuition is at different universities in the States.
Yeah.
So Florida State University, we are a public university, which means we have funds that come in from the state government, funds that come in from people's taxes. So to that end, universities that are public in the United States will have rates that will favor people that are from that state, that were born and raised there, that have gone to school there. So if you are actually from the state of Florida and you're finishing school there and your parents live there, you will be awarded something called in-state tuition. And that is a much, much lower rate that people will have to pay to attend university. It's a very different fee structure than we have here in the UK. And if you're not from the state of Florida, then that's everybody else. That's called out-of-state tuition, and that encompasses international students as well. We do not have a third tier that's even higher for international students. So that in-state rate is quite low. The in-state fees are around $6,500 per year for students from Florida. And like I said, normally you would never be able to access that rate, but let's put a pin in that. We'll revisit that. And then out of state, people are going to be paying around $21,600 a year for fees alone. We're not counting in other things like American health insurance and housing and such. So normally that's what you'd be paying, that 21,000 some dollars a year if you decided to go straight to the university. Now, a really big benefit of the first year abroad program is a huge reason we draw students both from outside of Florida and internationally as well. If you decide to do your first year abroad with us and you successfully complete the year, and successfully means, no disciplinary record, and that you've attained at least a 3.0 grade point average, which equates to a B average in all of your courses across the first year, you'll automatically be assessed and qualified for an out-of-state tuition waiver. So this isn't a scholarship as such. It's almost even better. It's a waiver. It completely waives the fact that you're from out of state. And for as long as it takes you to finish your first degree at Florida State, whether that's another 3 or 4 years, you will pay those in-state rates no matter where you're from. So by finishing that first year in London or Valencia or Florence or Panama, you'll have that ability to pay that in-state rate afterward, which again is around $6,500 a year.
Okay, that sounds pretty tempting.
It is.
Because obviously when students apply to America, one of the biggest concerns for them is how much it's going to cost. And there's always this, I guess, I don't want to call it a myth, but I think people look at the headline figures for tuition in the States and they go, well, there's no way I can ever afford that, without realizing there are ways around it. And this is one of those ways where you can make it more affordable,
Right.
but you just need to know about it.
That's the hard thing. There's over thousands of different universities you can attend in the United States, and we just don't have the same fee structures, and we don't have the same deadlines. Everything's very different per institution, so it makes it really difficult even for domestic students to try to figure out what the best bet is for them. So it's an extra level of challenging for an international student to be able to do their homework and find out that programs like this exist, and for them to go, hey, I can actually do that.
Yeah, that sounds great. I mean, if I was about to go to university, I'm not sure I would choose to do my first year in London. I think I would choose to go somewhere random like Panama. Sounds brilliant. And then go to Florida. Why not?
Get that hot weather.
Exactly, yeah. So obviously, there's a bit of a weird situation at the moment with regards to coronavirus, and that's changing lots of universities' plans for next term. Are you able to, do you have any plans? What is happening with regards to Florida State generally, and what is happening with Florida State in London for next term?
Right. Well, as we all know, this is a very fluid situation with coronavirus. I've said that sentence quite a lot these last 3 months. But as of today, on the 10th of June, the main update that we have is we won't be running any programs here at FSU London this autumn. Students can still do first year abroad with us. So if you've been accepted for this autumn to study at FSU and your plan had been to do first year abroad, that is still possible, but your classes will be online for the autumn term. The really cool thing about that is they'll all be taught by our local faculty here in London and Valencia and Florence. So you'll still get that interaction of having an international professor that's teaching you, despite the fact that you're not quite there yet. And then our plan is to have all of our campuses overseas reopen and ready to take students for the spring term, which will start away in January. So fingers crossed, that is the plan at the moment internationally. As far as main campus goes, I know some decisions are still being made about that at the moment. So I don't believe there's been a firm decision, but we know students are not being encouraged to sign any leases or anything in Tallahassee just yet for housing.
Okay. And is that the same at all the 4 campuses abroad?
So that would be the same for at least London and Florence and Valencia. I know that we're not taking students for sure overseas. I believe Panama will still, this is a guess, I believe they're still running for local students, but I do not believe that they will be sending any students from the States down to Panama. Right.
I was going to ask that maybe if you were due to do your first year abroad here, you could just go, well, I'll do it in Panama instead.
Oh, that would be nice. But yeah, the guidance that we've received is that it's just that students from the state of Florida, I believe attending any public university in the state of Florida, so not just us, won't be allowed to go abroad this fall. So the decision came from quite high up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. And do you know of any other universities that have this sort of program, like this first year abroad program that enables the fees to be waived if you do your first year abroad?
Yeah, we have not come across somebody that has a similar setup yet. We've certainly seen other universities have a start abroad option or do part, if not your whole first year at one of their other campuses, but it has not been brought to my attention as of yet of another program where there is such a financial benefit at the end of it by getting that in-state tuition, especially because we are a public university and we're able to offer that massive break. We haven't heard of anyone else just yet. So hopefully no one will catch wind and copy it.
Well, I was going to say, I'm inviting people who are listening to, if they if they want to take up that challenge, you're welcome to put in the comments other universities that do that, and maybe we'll learn something. I also don't know of any that do that, and I think it's the sort of thing that should be more widely known for the reason that I said before, which is that people are always looking for ways that they can try and reduce the fees for going to university. So it's a good thing. But so Florida State University itself, what would you say it is most renowned for in terms of majors or anything like that?
Right. Well, as a big public university, we offer a really wide range of courses, which is another really great benefit of attending a major public institution. There's usually a really wide catalog to choose from. So we have over 100 different undergraduate degrees that we have on offer. Everything from the hard sciences to humanities, foreign languages, business, entrepreneurship, medicine, you name it, we have it at the undergraduate level. We've also been really proud that we have been jumping in the rankings. I believe when I started with FSU in 2014, we were ranked somewhere in the high 40s or low 50s. And just this last year, the new U.S. News and World Report came out, and FSU is now number 18 out of all public universities in the United States. We were really thrilled that we've been going up in the rankings, and there's several reasons for that. I'd say a really big focus on student life is really renowned on our campus. We're really known as having a liberal arts feel, like a small liberal arts college feel, but with all the backings and amenities and resources that you would have from a huge university. The big mag lab, it's a big magnetic laboratory, moved onto our campus last decade. This was an opportunity from the US government to put a magnetic laboratory somewhere on some campus, somewhere in the United States, and they happened to choose Florida State. So we have the biggest magnet in all of North America on our campus. This may sound okay or decently interesting to some of you, but if you're interested in the sciences, this is enormous news, because that means getting the top faculty, the top researchers are wanting to come learn from that magnet. So they're coming to teach on our campuses. So our hard science classes especially are just really great. We have really top faculty from all over the world teaching with us. And we've reduced our faculty to student ratio. That's looking around 22-1 at the moment. So even though it's a big university, we're talking 41,000 students going to it, it doesn't feel that big when you're on campus, and that's a really big difference.
I want to know more about this magnet. Do you know much about it?
I was doing some reading today, and I know it broke a record. It broke a record for its magnetness. Tell I did an English degree. This is not but you could look it up. The Mag Lab, as it's called. It's really,
doing that right now.
Yeah, it's very cool. It broke some record, something about Tesla, but not the car. I'm not really sure what that means. But
well, I think you're thinking of the magnetic strength of the
that's
field.
That's exactly what I'm thinking of, and I knew that all along. See.
Okay, I'm just having it's amazing what you can do while you're sitting at a computer.
No, but it's been just a really fantastic thing for us to have that on campus. It's just brought in some amazing faculty these past few years, and I think there's a number of reasons why we've been jumping in the rankings with student satisfaction and value for your dollar, different kind of clubs and societies that students can join, different sports. But I really think the focus on academics has really grown at FSU, and we're really being taken as a very serious, academically rigorous university now, which is just really fantastic news for all of our graduates.
Yeah, well, it sounds really interesting. So it's officially called the National High Magnetic Field Laboratory at FSU, and it performs magnetic field research in physics, biology, bioengineering, chemistry, geochemistry, and biochemistry, and it's the only such facility in the US. There we go. One of only 9 in the world. There we go. It's a 33-ton series connected hybrid magnet, and it broke the world record during a series of tests because it reached 36 Tesla. That's the field strength in 2016. There we go. So anyone interested?
I realized quickly
in
it was
magnets?
not 36 Teslas, but was a different measurement that I didn't know. So
Yes, well, the car is named after the same scientist, Nikola Tesla.
there you go.
There we go. Well, that sounds really interesting. And is that the sort of thing that undergraduates can also get involved in when they're there?
Yeah, so another really great kind of feather to our cap at Florida State is how much we put an emphasis on undergraduate research. As I'm sure many people know, that's not something that an undergraduate can typically expect to do while they're at university, is to get involved in any kind of research. But we actually have a department on campus that specifically is trying to promote different opportunities for undergraduates to get involved in research. So we really have a massive push for that. And it's not just a thing that we reserve for seniors or fourth or fifth year students. We really encourage anybody in those fields to sign up for those opportunities. And that's really something that we consider a strength in our programming, is how much we're getting students involved at that level already.
That sounds great. So tell us a bit about the sort of student that's FSU is actually looking for then. What do you look for in a student when they apply?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I mean, the first thing to always say is that any applications that we receive to the university are looked at in a very holistic manner. So we're looking for students that are real all-arounders. This is not specific just to FSU. I would say for anybody, this is what a lot of universities in the United States are looking for. We're looking for students that not only are strong academically, but are also showing us that they get involved quite a lot outside of academics. So you're having those volunteer experiences, maybe a part-time job, showing us that you are doing really well in school and then also outside of the classroom as well, because we want someone to show up on our campus and to get involved in one of our clubs or societies. There's loads of ways to get involved on campus, and we're promoting them every week at the student union, at different market Wednesdays. We're just constantly trying to get students involved. So we don't want the student that's just going to go to class and not engage. We really want students that are going to come and be a part of the fabric of our FSU community, whether that's through sports or that's through student government or, a sorority. Whatever floats your boat, we want you to come and we want you to participate at FSU.
Okay. There's a lot we could talk about there in terms of all those other things that students need to think about in their applications. But are you able to maybe succinctly say what does an FSU student actually look like, though? I mean, what makes someone suited to FSU as opposed to, I don't know, Michigan State, something like that?
Well, which is my alma mater, and I consider sort of Michigan State the Florida State of the North. We're quite
colder.
I honestly, having worked with Florida State students for years now, I see Florida State is for everyone. If you're wanting a quiet university experience that's very studious, and you want to read books and you want to meet that group of people, they're there at FSU. If you want to be gregarious and you want to join loads of sports teams, whether they're very competitive or not, that's at FSU. All of those opportunities are available on our campus, and that's a huge benefit of going to a big university that has 41,000 students at it. Someone of every religion, background, race, shape, creed, everyone is at that university. And there's wonderful supporting networks for minority students, so they can meet up and stand for their rights and get involved on campus. There really is something and a resource to support everybody. And if it's not there, it's really easy to start your own group on campus as well. So I would definitely say that a typical Florida State student looks like everybody.
I think that's quite an important thing to say about public universities in general in the States, is that but their aim is to try and educate as many people as possible. So you really do get lots of different types of personalities and people there. And I think the only downside about it is that they tend to be bigger populations there, and therefore people can feel like they get a bit lost. But I've certainly heard students who say they love their time there because they're able to kind of carve out their niche there.
Yeah.
and find those groups of friends and people that they really do like and get on with.
Yeah.
And that's maybe harder at a smaller college where you're going to know everyone at that college, and some people love that and some people don't like that. No,
Yeah, exactly.
exactly.
No, I would say it's not a disadvantage, but it is true that at a public university you are going to get certainly a much higher group of students that are from that state. So it's not that it's not diverse in people, but you will find that there's going to be a higher concentration of students from Florida State that are from the state of Florida. Then there's going to be a lesser population of students from the other 49 states and a smaller international student population than you would typically find at a private university that tends to get a much more geographically diverse student body. But I wouldn't particularly say that this is a negative thing, because within the state of Florida, we're an incredibly diverse state. So you're still going to get a lot of people from a lot of backgrounds, bringing a lot of wisdom and ideas and thoughts to your classes and, to your friendships. So I don't think it's a disadvantage, but it is a little bit different, definitely, than going to a private university in that regard.
Yeah, definitely. You mentioned sports a little bit earlier, and obviously sports in America are important, but particularly at universities like Florida State, you've got some amazing sports teams. Do you want to talk a little bit about that and how much people get involved in sports when they're there?
Yeah, absolutely. We are a huge sports school, and that's both for people that just want to go to games or people that actually want to play games. So I'll talk first about the Division I sports. These are the students that are properly recruited and play for Division I football. I mean football, not kicking football, team, and baseball. And those sports are great. They are really what binds the student body together. It's where you learn the fight song. It's where I just can't describe it well enough to a British student. Our stadium on campus seats about just roughly the size of Wembley Stadium.
It's about 80,000 seats.
Yeah, we're at something like we took some seats out to make like a posh sports box. So we lost a few thousand seats, but I think we're around 76,000 that sit there. And it's on our campus. I mean, can you imagine just walking through, Oxford's campus, and all of a sudden you come across Wembley Stadium? It's just your university. And even if you don't know any of the rules of American football or understand why they're stopping every 2 seconds or why there are cheerleaders or what is occurring, there is nothing like standing in a crowd full of that many thousands of people singing the fight song, and there's fireworks going off. And it's, the horse runs out in the middle of the field at the beginning of the game and throws a spear that's on fire into the field. There is just nothing like it. So yes, we are a very big sports school. And I really have heard from students, especially my British students, that said, well, I don't really know if that's going to be for me. When I come visit them in Florida, they are there, they are screaming, they are the most excited new football fans there are. This is not necessarily our heyday anymore. We did win the national championship in 2013. We are not great right now, but we will be great again. Our men's baseball, our women's softball team are fantastic. Our women's soccer team is amazing as well. So these are all different things that you can go to for free on campus and get involved and just feel like a real Seminole. We like to say that you bleed garnet and gold, which are our colors. And those are the games you attend. There's also a lot of other ways to get involved. So if you're quite sporty and you think, oh, well, I play American football, but there's no way I'm going to play good enough to get onto their team. But you could play well enough for our intramural teams that we have. So there's still competitive teams. You still go and try out. You still wear Florida State kit. You still travel and play against other local universities. You're just not on the televised team. So there still are ways to get really involved in like proper competitive sports. And then sort of as a third category beneath that, we have our intramural leagues. And that's where you and your friends kind of are goofing off, playing a game of soccer. Or my favorite one students tell me about and are obsessed with is called Battleship. And that's where they get teams together in these big canoes inside our Olympic side swimming pool on campus and take buckets and try to fill up the other canoe and sink them. And that's just a game that you can play. So there's just loads of ways, even for, you know, the uncoordinated, non-athletic people like myself, to go ahead and get involved on campus doing different sports. So it really is for everyone.
And I presume you are now going to sing the fight song for us.
Oh. No, again, I didn't go to Florida State myself. I just know at one point they spell out the words Florida State. So when I go to the game, that's the only part I can participate.
We've got a few questions coming in, actually. The first one is, I'll just take one at random. So this is quite a common question for students going to America, but after you graduate from your degree, are you able to continue working in America, or is that not university dependent?
So there is an extension to your visa that you can do. It has existed for a long time. I don't know if I can attest to the fact that it will still be with us in another few years, but it's a visa that's been around for a long time, and it's a practical training add-on that you can do to your visa, basically. So we have a huge department on campus, building actually, the Center for Global Engagement, which we call the Globe. And they would be your go-to people while you're a student. You would go in and say, hey, I want to stay on afterwards. How do I do this? How do I get that add-on to my visa? And then they would work with you to be able to do that. I know one of the caveats of doing that is that you have to find a job that relates directly to what your major, what your degree was. So you can't, you know, study history and then all of a sudden say you want to take on a job in marketing at Disney. You have to really make sure that that degree has to do with what you're going to be doing that extension for. So it's meant to relate directly to what your studies were.
Okay.
So that is an option at the moment.
And how long does that visa last for normally?
Oh, to my knowledge, I believe it's a year or two. I'm not quite sure. I believe from what I've seen from other former students is that would be that opportunity then for you to try to find a way to get sponsored in the United States by a company to stay on. But having not done that route myself, I'm not exactly sure. But that's exactly what you know, our Center for Global Engagement is there for, to be able to answer those kinds of questions to help with visas.
Yeah. Okay. And related to that, can students work on campus during their degree?
Yeah, absolutely. So we actually really even recommend that. It's a really common thing for American students to be working on campus or working whilst they're doing their degree. So with your F1 student visa, you're able to work on campus for 20 hours a week, and then you're able to work full-time during non-term time. So if you were staying between terms and that sort of thing, you'd be able to work full-time. For working on campus, there's loads of different jobs available on campus. We're a huge community, and they're not just, you know, working in a cafe making coffee. There are other really administrative, you know, research assistant roles that you can go out for to fulfill that. So you don't have to just automatically assume, well, right, I might just be a barista part-time. There's actually lots of different things you can do. And again, we have a whole service on campus called the Career Services Center, and they're there to help find all those job opportunities for students to work while they're doing their degree. And additionally, if you want to work off campus one summer, if you want to do an internship, or you have another kind of opportunity available off of campus, which is especially possible because we're the capital city, so there's all those government buildings that I mentioned earlier. So all those opportunities, you can again work with our Center for Global Engagement. They can help you figure out how to make sure your visa is applicable for you to be able to take on that internship off of campus.
Okay. Another practical question is, the question is, what are the early application plans at your university? Do you do early decision?
Yes, so we do early action. We don't
early action. Okay.
Yeah, we don't do early decision, and we have the coronavirus answer for this year, and then my regular answer for all other
Okay.
years. So normally, our early action deadline is on the 1st of November, but this year, because of COVID-19, we have moved that priority application deadline from November 1st to December 1st.
Interesting. Okay.
So that is a really important milestone for anyone that's interested in Florida State to make sure that they're hitting. For anyone that's aware, early action is just an early priority application deadline. It doesn't mean that you are committed to going to that university if you decide to apply for early action. We always encourage students that are interested in coming to Florida State that really have their heart set on it to absolutely aim for that early action deadline. So December 1st this year, but then next year, once COVID-19 has gone away forever, we hope, we'll go back to our normal deadline, which will be the 1st of November. So that would mean having the application done and submitted, your SAT or ACT test done, or at least one done. We still will accept some later test dates just as long as you already have an application. And
okay, that's good.
having your essay done, all of those things. So it is some forward planning, but we will admit most students we're going to take in that application round. So, yeah.
So related to tests then, so normally students who are applying early, the last test date they can do is October or November if they're doing subject tests. If your deadline is now 1st of December, can students do the December test and submit their application, then submit the December test scores?
So our Office of Admissions has listed that the December SAT and the February ACT are the latest tests that we will accept.
Okay, well that's good.
We have to have had one submitted before they apply.
So they still got to do October
yes,
SAT or ACT then at the latest.
At the moment, and we are still accepting or requiring the SAT or ACT. Again, we know this is all a fluid situation, so I'm sure the university would review that as something.
They must be reviewing it. So are you not able to give me any insights into whether you're about to go test optional or not?
I am not about to, I'm not able at all to give you any of those insights. Everything we have is the word go on SATs or ACTs.
If I were a betting man, I would bet that you are going to go test optional, but that is not with any insider knowledge. So please don't put any money on that, people listening. Yeah, only because most places have, and I suspect you will. But I think it's worth clarifying to those listening that that doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that you shouldn't submit your scores if you've got good scores. You should still submit them because they'll still get looked at.
Yeah, especially for Florida State, we super score, which is an amazing American term. That means we're going to take your highest earned sub scores and give you your best overall score. So if you take the SAT and submit those once, and you take it again and do better in one area, we'll combine those scores for you and we'll get you your best possible outcome. So definitely submit what you have. We're not playing any tricks or anything. Just show us what you've got, and we want to see how you've done.
Okay, that's good to know. Okay, a really, really important question that's come through is, what is the best thing about living in Florida aside from Big Cat Rescue?
Carol Baskin. What a ledge. You know, when I started watching Tiger King, I thought, oh, surely this takes place in Florida, right? But who knew?
The funny thing is, I didn't ask you whether you'd seen Tiger King. I just assumed that you had.
Who has not seen Tiger King by this point, especially in quarantine? What else is there to do?
Exactly.
The best thing of living in Florida, I'm trying to think of all the wonderful catch-ups I've had with my British students over the years in particular, and what they have just loved. The weather, they absolutely adore. The weather is fantastic and weird sometimes. It rains, but then the next minute it's blistering sunshine. It's very bizarre.
Sounds like London.
It sounds like London, but like if in the next moment it was suddenly 38 degrees outside. Which we don't quite get that here. The people, the students, British students have loved getting to know Floridians and that Southern hospitality culture that we have in that part of the United States, which I am from Michigan, so that's even a bit foreign for me. When I go down and I visit Tallahassee, I find it incredibly charming and lovely how kind and welcoming Southerners are. You see it in films and you read it in books, but then it happens to you in person and you go, oh wow, this Southern hospitality thing is a real thing. And the location to the beaches and Disney World and the ability to get to other fantastic cities like New Orleans and Atlanta by car, or to fly to other areas of the United States during those years you're there, to do proper spring break on the beaches in Florida. There's just it's the sunshine state for a reason. And you will just find nothing but sunshine and happiness and just like a lot of really good times when you're not busy with all of your academically rigorous work.
Exactly. And are there any particular local culinary delights that people should sample if they're in Tallahassee or in Florida?
Now, you know I'm the worst person to ask this because I'm vegan. So, I can tell you all about the great vegan places that there are in Tallahassee.
I was just wondering if there were any particular dishes or something that Florida is famous for.
Oh, that's a really good question. I mean, I think I would just kind of loop it with Southern food. So every year when I go there, people are always putting fried green tomatoes in front of me, which I didn't realize wasn't just a movie name from the day. It was literally a thing. Lots of fried food, loads and loads of fried food, crab legs, tea. I'll just have a quick brief soapbox moment to tell you about tea in Florida. It is cold and it is filled with sugar. So just brace yourself. It is not a hot cup of tea. You will not get one of those in Florida. You will get a giant thing of tea from Popeye's chicken that will rot your teeth out like that because it's got so much sugar in it, but it will keep you awake.
Okay, sounds good. I saw a viral video yesterday of some Americans making some tea.
Yeah,
it wasn't good.
It's not. It's not good. Tea does not go in the microwave, Americans. I don't know.
No. I could tell you all about it. I mean, that's the problem with the voltage in America, but that's a whole nother story.
Yes.
Okay, here's a more serious question. What might prevent an academically qualified student being accepted to Florida State? You don't just admit everyone, right?
No. I mean, again, that sort of feeds back to our ethos of, using like a wholly holistic process to look at every student applicant. So we would always rather have a student that's got, strong marks, maybe could have been better, but was also played an instrument, played a sport, had a part-time job at Tesco. We'd rather take that really involved student over the highest SAT, the best A levels, but no other involvement whatsoever. We want the whole package. And that's not just us. Again, that's going to be a really American thing that we want to see, the all-rounder. And you don't need to suddenly join every club in your school. You don't need to suddenly pick up every sport. If you're an artsy person and you don't like sport at all, commit to the arts then. Commit to what you're doing and then just keep doing that one thing really well. If you're 40 and you don't like any of that other stuff, great, then sport will be your thing. But just, commit to extracurriculars, commit to being involved in other things outside of school. And that's what will be the thing that will boost you over the line into getting accepted.
Yeah. Okay. Makes sense. And that's generally the advice we give to students is make sure you're doing lots of things or doing things that you care about outside of school, because it's good for your life as well as for your applications. What about Greek life at FSU? Do you have fraternities and sororities?
Yes, we certainly do. They're decently popular enough on campus, and those are very easy to join. They will do something called a rush week at the beginning of the fall or the spring semester, and that's an opportunity for you to go and visit all the different fraternity houses or sorority houses and to meet the different members of those houses and see sort of what the best suited place might be for you. I will say, especially, we get students that ask a lot about doing our first year abroad program, and they say, all right, that's great, I want to come to London for a year, but does that mean I can't do anything when I get onto campus after that? No, not at all. You can still join any club or society, sports team. This includes Greek life once you get onto campus your second year. And we definitely see a lot of students finish up their year here in London or over here in Europe and then get onto main campus and decide to rush a sorority or a fraternity. I'll also do a little plug as well. There are business and other focused fraternities that are open to both genders on campus as well. So Greek life isn't all what you see in the movies. There are other opportunities for more specific groups to come together and have a fraternity. So it's worth having a look at and seeing if there might be something in it for you. Like I said, it's not all the movies. There are other opportunities there.
Okay, good. And I've heard it said that you have a Quidditch team at Florida State.
Yes, you may have heard that before. Yes, one of the sort of fun sports teams that we do have is a Quidditch team. And if you haven't looked it up before, look up collegiate Quidditch teams on YouTube, at least for one video. It is really aggressive, like way more aggressive than I thought. Just whacking each other with brooms and get a bit bloodied. Yeah, it's like field hockey.
Sounds like lacrosse to me.
Yeah, but lacrosse is like you're catching something in a net. This is just you're whacking each other with brooms and running around like that. So
that's just fighting, I think.
Yeah, I think it's just sort of fighting in a way, but only for Harry Potter fans. But yes, we have a lovely competitive Quidditch team on campus that you can easily join. We had a cricket club for a while back when I started, but those kids must have all graduated because I noticed it's gone off the page. So, for any Brits that want to come to FSU, if you want to rustle up the old cricket team and bring it back, you can.
Yeah. There are a few cricket clubs in the States. There's only one varsity cricket team, which is at Haverford.
Oh, really?
Yeah. They've got no one to play against, though.
Who do they play?
I think they just play local teams.
Again, who do they play?
Okay, I'll have to come to Florida State and watch some Quidditch then. Have you got any famous, notable alumni from Florida State?
Oh, I'm going to maybe catch heat for this. The only one that comes to mind is Burt Reynolds.
Yes, you are correct. I'd actually looked up some beforehand, but I did notice that Burt Reynolds went there. Hunter S. Thompson also.
Hunter Thompson was, and then did he go as a physicist? Maybe he didn't go. Maybe he just taught at FSU. Oh. Who else did you find? Yeah, Hunter S. Thompson. That's right.
You've got quite a lot of big football players, of course.
Yeah. Jameis Winston.
Yeah, Derek Brooks.
80s. I probably don't know.
Yeah. No, I'm just having a look through your alumni now to see if there's anyone else that I recognize. There we go. I mean, but if you've got Burt Reynolds, who else do you need?
Well, who else do you need? Absolutely.
Okay, I'm just going to have a quick look to see if there's any other questions that I have missed. Oh, yes, there's one here. Do students tend to mainly socialize on campus, or do they venture out into Tallahassee?
Oh, that's a really good question. I think there's a really good mixture of both, especially in the last several years that I've been working for FSU. Things have changed on campus a lot. They've built up a few areas that there was nothing there before. There's just sort of abandoned buildings, and they've knocked those down and they've made them into these really lovely sort of strips with loads of bars and clubs and restaurants and housing and really cool student areas. And a lot of these lie between campus and the areas going towards downtown. So you will see students that are living on campus enjoying the campus amenities, which would be the campus bowling alley, the campus nightclub, things like that. But I think you see more of a push for students spending time off campus in the US because there aren't bars or anything on campus like you would find at a university here in the UK, which I was very surprised about when I came here for uni. Why is there a bar? Why are there many bars here? So you will see a lot of students spending time on those strips or heading downtown, especially if there's a comedian or a band or something playing a gig in one of those locations. Then there's markets that happen downtown as well. So there's a lot of reasons to draw students to those areas, but at the same time, there are a lot of things happening on campus as well. So it's going to be really whatever you're interested in is going to dictate you kind of going one way or another. But a couple cool things to mention is the buses are free for students. So if you are going downtown or you're heading around campus, which is very walkable, by the way, you can just hop on a bus for free, or get a really cheap Uber to get you somewhere. So I often have British students asking me, all right, I want to go, but I can't drive there. What am I meant to do? It's very easy to get around without a car. And you will make friends that will drive you around too.
Okay, that's good. Yes, I'm not sure whether everyone knows, but Katie and I have in common that we both spent some time studying at the University of Nottingham. And certainly the campus there does have enough bars for you never to have to leave campus.
So bizarre. It's so different. Yeah. So different.
Yeah. Although every time I go back, I'm just amazed at how much it changes and how much coffee everyone drinks, because I love coffee now. But when I was at university, it wasn't about coffee.
No. I haven't been back since I left, so I need to make a trip up there at some point and see how it's changed. I'm sure
it will surprise you. It will surprise you.
Yeah.
Okay, Katie, I don't think there's any other questions. So do we want to finish off just by you telling everyone how they can get hold of you if they so wish?
Yeah, absolutely. I want to kind of mention just a couple of last things, if that's all right, and then I can give you some contact information. But yeah, I'm based here in our campus in Great Russell Street, so it's really easy to get a hold of me. Would it be possible to post my email address and stuff after this, or?
I think if you read it out slowly, then people can write it down.
Right, indeed. Okay, so you can reach me on K Behringer. That's KBEHRINGER at FSU for Florida State University.edu. That's the best way to get a hold of me on email. I am still working full time. I am active, so I will get your email and get straight back to you. And as soon as we're able to, we will resume our open days on campus. That will be an opportunity for you to come in and see Florida State University's London campus, learn more about FSU in Tallahassee, learn more about all of our international programs, including how our classes are structured, which courses we offer, the excursions we go on, the different fun places we get to take you when you come as a student to London or Florence or Valencia, all the different fun places that we take you to. So we would go over all that during one of our open days. And then if you're not able to make one of our open days, you can just email me at any time. And then when you happen to be in London, we can set up a time for you to come and have a similar tour, but just one-on-one instead.
Great, thanks, Katie. If anyone didn't quite catch our email address, you can just pop a note in the comments or drop us an email or send us a message through Facebook here, and we can always give you Katie's email address. But Katie, it's been a pleasure. I'm going to end the live video now, but we can debrief. And I hope to see you again soon.
Yeah, thanks guys. Thanks for listening. Have a good one. Stay safe.